numbers, man.
Welcome to another edition of the Mexican Soccer Show. It is Monday Night Football. Apologies. There was traffic. Everybody's rushing home. It's later now with the daylight saving times. Even though we don't observe it, people maybe find a way to make that as an excuse here in Phoenix. But it is 8 p.m. here, and everywhere is still the same time for everybody, but people are having problems with the adjustments, and so am I. I want to let everybody know, thank you for following us, thank you for what you guys are always tweeting at us, and our questions are going to start right away because I know we wasted already some time, and jump right in with our question. And we'll start with Mr. Tom, the big question of the day. Cesar, Adriana, and Tom, of the two teams that have secured their spot in the Liguilla, Cruz Azul, America, who do you think has the highest expectations? And we'll start with Mr. Tom in Guadalajara. How's it going, sir?
Not bad, Weasel, yeah. So out of the two teams, out of those two teams, who has the highest expectations? I'd say both of them. I mean, obviously,
that's not an answer.
You gotta pick one, man.
Come on, man. Oh,
I mean, I don't know. Like, what's the? I mean, they both won the title, no? That's the highest you can go.
Yeah, but I would say that if Cruz Azul, America has to win this. I mean, Cruz Azul gets second and be like, hey, they had a good season. We'll see what's happening with next season. In that sense.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I'd say maybe Cruz Azul. I think obviously they're doing well, and it feels like this is their time. You know what I mean? There's a lot of indications they've won the cup. They're playing well. I think they play a good style of football for Liguilla. So I'd say, obviously the drought going back since '97. But then at the same time, America, if they don't win the title, then obviously it's America, and they're gonna go crazy, and people question Miguel Herrera. So yeah, I'd say both the teams, but probably just Cruz Azul just ahead right now.
Cesar.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I was just giving Tom a hard time, but he does have a good point there. But I guess the way that I was thinking about it was, I mean, obviously expectations are always extremely high for America, regardless of the season. But I think, all right, if America misses out on the title, their fans will be hurt. But I think Cruz Azul fans would be hurt even more so, because just like Tom said, I feel like if there was a season for them to really get this championship, the first one since league championship since 1997, this would be their time. This is their opportunity. So I feel like just because I feel like it would be more of a missed opportunity for them, I feel like expectations are higher now for Cruz Azul, which is strange to say just because expectations are always extraordinarily high for America. But I'm going to go Cruz Azul.
Adriana.
I just don't think there's any team that's just as pressured as much as Cruz Azul to win this season, especially after they had an amazing start. I think they're still favorites to win, although I just don't see them as strong as they were probably a month ago. So yeah, definitely Cruz Azul.
I'm gonna go against.
Can't beat those fans, man.
I think as far as fans, I think the whole as far as all of Liga MX, and even if you're not a Cruz Azul fan, you're kind of like, all right, come on, Cruz Azul, you have to do something, right? So it's up there.
Yeah.
It's something that they don't. I feel how you guys can say Cruz Azul. But as far as the team, if Cruz Azul doesn't win and it gets gets to the final and loses in the final, although everybody's going to be kind of laughing, right? I
hate daylight savings.
Daylight savings time.
I just wanted to point that out.
Then
this pod just gonna be about daylight savings time. Also, I think it's singular, not plural. I think it's daylight savings time. But anyway,
the editor and Cesar and him is going, okay, hold on, we gotta do that. I think that even if they get to the second spot, or el eterno bicampeón in that sense, it's still a good season. And it's like, okay, it won't be that bad. And that's where I would say America would be the pressure. You have to win it, especially with Piojo and the season that they've had and the players that they have. So I'm going to say, and plus it's, the team that has to win it. That's or else. So, but we'll see how that. Well, as far as any responses from the team or the chat, does anybody see anything on there? Because I'm trying to load up my show, but I don't see anything on Twitter for it.
I got the chat right here. Let's see. Louis says, he just says Club America. El Danman 86 says Cruz Azul because of the great season they've had. Carlito says the one that invested the most in the offseason. Leo said last time Cruz Azul finished first in league, they lost to 8th place Leon.
Yeah.
And then
I
El
think
Danmans, yeah. So I forgot you guys had daylight savings.
I think it would point out there's only there's only 8 points between first and 10th in this league. So it's not like, somebody's mentioning there, Leo's mentioning first beat 8th. It's like there's only a couple of games in it. I mean, Tigres could finish 8th in this, and play Cruz Azul, and then who you're going to back in that situation? You wouldn't. It'd be difficult to pick a team out of those two.
No, I think that's definitely a good point, and we see what Tigres are like once the off season starts. And but yeah, I think I'm looking at it right now. Yeah, it is. Yeah, first place Cruz Azul, 30 points. 10th place Querétaro with 22 points, and obviously you'd rather face a Tigres than a Pachuca, Morelia, or Querétaro there.
I think so far the Morelia and Pumas are the ones that those are the teams that a team like Cruz Azul will want to face. In that first round, get over that quarterfinal, get to the semi-final. I don't think they'd fancy really a Toluca or
Tigres
or Monterrey.
Well, the big news from Liga MX is to jump into as far as the show. We go into Liga MX and talk about the teams. Once again, Tom and I, we were talking about it last week, and I would say the biggest news is Chivas officially missed out on the Liguilla, bringing their season to, again, all the things that happened since their coach leaving, coming in, and people were kind of wondering this was at least a good thing that could happen, is still making the Liguilla officially out. And we'll go to...
They're still in it, actually. They're not officially out, but we could basically count them out.
Yeah, I'm not
feeling like numbers to align to make it through.
Yeah. There's hope. I would say that there's Leon in my side. But I'm counting it officially out. Adriana, we'll go to you. Just definitely like to hear your reaction as far as
still thinking about Almeida.
Because let's if you can go without saying Almeida as the reason, you get extra brownie points on today's show.
Okay.
But
yeah. Well, we were looking at this earlier. I think they could actually be eliminated by Friday in case. I think it was Atlas winning or Tigres winning. There's a game on Friday. I'm trying to remember who it was. But the point is, it doesn't really depend. Yeah, the Atlas Pachuca game can just eliminate Chivas 24 hours in advance. So I really do think there's nothing that can make Chivas have a really successful season. So Cardoso will just have to make it for 2 more weeks, thinking that he has the Club World Cup coming along, and he's going to be out of activity probably for about a month before going to the Club World Cup, because let's remember our Christmases will be probably ruined by the schedule in December with the Club World Cup.
Has it come out yet?
No, but it's always in like 7 a.m. ish or 3 a.m. ish or something like that. So I just don't think it's going to be a really good hour over here. But yeah, you have to start looking at that stuff. Chivas will be eliminated because, let's face it, it's probably harder for them to make it through than actually winning a lottery ticket or something. But yeah, they're gonna have a month off without any activity, and then you have to make something reasonable out of the Club World Cup, which means making it at least past the first game, which I think is against the African champion, right?
Ooh, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
I think
it's the Africans.
Still to one sec.
Somebody check the wiki page.
Either way, they have to make it at least past the first game, right? Just because of Liga MX honor, I guess. So I do think this could be expected from Chivas, seeing as though Cardoso came in after the team was already signing players in the drafts, and you had all that situation. I mean, I could just say we could all blame it on Higuera. I think he messed up the team during the offseason. You have, for example, Ronaldo Cisneros, we were just talking about. He went up to Zacatepec. You got rid of really good players for reasons. Apparently, there are economic reasons behind this. Tom should know. So, yeah, I really don't think that it through was optimistic.
This week.
Tom, say that one more time.
Yeah, no, I mean, Higuera was tweeting this week to do with economics. The reason he sold Pizarro to Monterrey, and it was to do with sporting reasons. So, I mean, he's been slammed for that tweet specifically. And yeah, I mean, it's a really difficult one for Chivas now. There's obviously rumors about Alan Pulido going to Rayados as well. There's rumors about Alexis Vega coming in from Toluca. So that kind of these kind of stories about what Chivas are going to do in the off season are now they're starting to roll, because basically this season's over. They've got the Club World Cup. Maybe they'll try and get a player or two before then. I'm not sure if the transfer window's even open, to be honest. But it's a big transfer window for Chivas, and not just from the playing point of view, but to tell the fans, to tell everybody, like, where is this club now? What's happened? The financial consolidation. Where's that at? Is it still going on? Is there still a need to sell players? Because if there is, then there's not that much left to sell now. They sold kind of the meat. There's only kind of the bones left. So, where's this club going? I think this transfer window now is going to be, an indicator of that. So, yeah, it's not good though. I think Cardoso was an easy option for the directors. I'm not sure if he's the right man for the job, but then again, I don't really know who is right now, especially because if they don't have any money, it's as simple as that. They've got to go out and buy players.
The result over the weekend.
Someone that's willing to take in just someone that's willing to take in everything that Chivas represents, and knowing that Higuera will step in, and knowing that maybe Vergara will step in eventually, or at least his son will. Now that Jorge Vergara has been disappeared, for I don't know, 6 months is it now? I don't know. But yeah, I think all this instability that surrounds the team is just something else, just something more that fans have to worry about, because as Tom said, you don't have any more players to sell. Apparently, Chofis isn't reaching an agreement to renew with the team as well. Yeah. He might leave, and there's just not much more you can do with the team. You're going to face the same problems as every season. You only have Mexican players. You don't have that many names coming up from the youth squads. And you just can't buy any other players that are doing well in other teams. Alexis Vega is apparently being signed during December, but other than that, there's not really anybody else you can or would be able to buy anyway. So it's I don't know. It just seems like a long cycle that's going to be really difficult to break if they don't come out of this financial situation.
Yeah, what I was going to say really quickly, and that result over the weekend, I feel like it didn't do them any favors. I feel like on paper, you're looking at it like, a 2-2 draw, away draw for Chivas. That's not exactly the worst result, but there's a Chivas side that went up by the 11th minute. They had a 2-0 lead right there, and they ended up falling apart right there. So I feel like there's something kind of indicative about that result, of them falling apart, of them having those problems kind of thrust upon them, and you consider the current situation. And even though I did cut off Fuiso earlier, I was just like, no, they're not eliminated just yet. Essentially they are, though. Essentially, like Tom said, their season is all over. Barring some sort of miracle, they're not going to the playoffs, and especially when Tigres. I think Tigres are the last team they're going to even face in the regular season. That could be really even more disastrous
and
for them.
They need those points too. So it's not like
we were talking last week with Wiso as well about about Chivas going out there and buying a striker and doing this, doing that. I wonder now, again, like I think I said the same a few years ago, is that are players now going to be attracted to Chivas? Because if I was Alexis Vegas' agent right now and Chivas came in, and you were thinking about the good of the player and not taking your percentage cut of the deal, I wouldn't advise a player to go to Chivas, to be honest, because you're walking into a club that's a mess. And you're starting for Toluca. The same with Marcel Ruiz, because he was. I was listening to the commentary of the Querétaro game, and I'm like, if I'm 17 years old, Marcel Ruiz, I'm starting for Querétaro. I'm still chasing the playoffs. It seems like quite a well-run club right now. Then why would you go to Chivas with all this, just all this drama going on, and you don't know where you're at, and I don't know. I'm not sure. Even if you look at the record recently of Chivas selling players to kind of Europe, it's not. I think Raúl Godinho was the last one. I think the one before that was maybe Ulises Davila.
And look at that.
There's a reason why people go. Players want to go to Chivas, right? One of the prestigious of the club, of being one of the biggest clubs, if not the biggest clubs out there in Mexico, right? Partner with being in the Super Clásico. Or money. That's it. That's just why, even if you're in Pumas or you're a Cruz Azul or Pachuca, you want to get to the larger clubs, when you're looking at it. But when the large club isn't making Liguilla, And that's at least when you go in other leagues like Real Madrid, Barcelona, or the large clubs in any other league, they're making the finals. They're making at least, that postseason if there is one. Chivas isn't even doing that. And even so even the prestigious of Chivas and being the history of it, being in the Super Clásico of Mexico, in that sense, I can't draw you. I'm with you right there, Tom. It's either A, it just has to be money, and it just happens to be that
they don't have any.
They don't have any. So
Yeah.
there's no reason why anyone would want to go there if they're not winning. Just so the popularity, I mean, because the heart of it, that's the only reason why people would go to Chivas.
And there's a lot of pressure when you join Chivas. There's a significant amount of attention thrown upon you, and I think that in the past it's been worthwhile if it led to success. But now, as we've discussed, like, would it be worthwhile if it doesn't seem like Chivas are going to be really accomplishing anything in the near future? Yeah, they could do something down the line, but in the near future, you can't really, foresee them really making much success within the next season or two.
Yeah, I mean, Chivas looks right now like a selling club, and if you're a player on the up, then you don't really want to go to a club that is selling the best players. I mean, I think it's as simple as that for me.
Yeah.
And there's no guarantee. I mean, just see what happened to Ronaldo Cisneros. He came in as the future star. He was a leading goal scorer with Santos in the U20 team. He's a national team player regularly. I mean, he was meant to be a really good player for Chivas, and he's in Zacatepec. So what guarantee could you have after you've been sold to a team like Chivas after doing so well with Santos?
Yeah.
And then, like other players could look and say, hey, how do I know that's not going to happen to me? I mean, you got this player for, I'm pretty sure, a lot of money because Santos was starting him eventually. They knew he was a future star for the team. And now he just ended up elsewhere.
Yeah.
Again, I go back to kind of all the shows that we had, Tom and Cesar and Adriana, back 2 or 3 years ago when it was like every week, what is the recipe for Chivas, right? And then it came down to heavily invested players that came in for a little bit, and then a coach, right, that instilled a little bit of at least positive attitude within the players, because that's what we saw. They had great players coming in. They had, the fans, the installations and all of that, but then it was just kind of like, what does it need to happen? And now it's happening again. I think relegation talk will start happening if, in the next few years, and if not next year. I think we're looking at 2 years, a 2-year cycle, and Chivas, again, it's in trouble of almost the same thing that happened 2 years ago. And we said it was kind of like Almeida grew out of one of the largest clubs in Mexico. What does it say about Mexican football?
Yeah.
Things to ponder. Not to spend a lot of time on Chivas, but what else are the surprising scores that we saw over the weekend that you saw, at least going into Liguilla? Any teams that kind of surprised you? I know, Adriana, you said Cruz Azul has kind of fallen off that great as far as the super leader, the team to beat. Now it's kind of going into, we're starting to see when coming into Liguilla. But again, the Liguilla is a Liguilla. Any of the top 8 teams could win. It depends. My point is to at least having Santos still looking in and trying to make it, and maybe seeing in America. But for you guys, any surprises or anyone that's kind of solidified, okay, this is a team that's for real for the Liguilla?
I don't know if it's for real for the Liguilla, but I think a team we need to bring up just because they scored 6 goals over the weekend was Pachuca getting that 6-2 win over Necaxa. I think that they could be a dark horse in Liguilla. That is, if they qualify Liguilla, and it all depends on the momentum that they have. You look at someone like Victor Guzman, who got 4 goals, and of course he kind of overshadowed a certain player called Franco Jara, who got 2 goals and assists right there. So I think that I'm a big fan of them. I'm a big fan of the way they play, and I think that if they qualify for Liguilla, that is a team to be keeping an eye on. But
it's like if they qualify, they're going to be really good. But they got to qualify.
That's the thing. It's just
that's Mexican soccer.
It's tough though, because you look at that right there. So Pachuca, Morelia, and Querétaro, they all have 22 points. So and more than likely, what it's going to come down to for Pachuca is that goal differential. Luckily, they got those 6 goals, so right now they have a +8 goal differential, so they're probably going to go through. But I think that's a side that shouldn't be taken lightly. And of course, if we're talking about Pachuca, we also have to talk about Victor Guzman, because everyone's thinking that's the next great talent coming out of Pachuca. Is he going to go to Europe? Is he going to move to a bigger team? But I think, as Tom has discussed before in the past, I think Tom has alluded to this. I mean, I don't know if it's possible that Pachuca are going to be letting go of Guzman as easily as someone like a Chucky or Gutierrez. And especially when you look at that roster, I mean, I think they need more time for Pablo Lopez or Francisco Figueroa to really like find a spot within that squad. But I think that's been one of the more bigger talking points too. Is just like what's the next big step for Guzman?
Yeah, I mean, I think well, two things. Pachuca got Atlas away, followed by Leon at home. Leon's owned by the president's son. So if they need points in that game, I think Pachuca are gonna get him. I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
No, hey, there's been times. What was it? Maybe like 3 years ago when Pachuca needed a win and Leon didn't give it to him.
Yeah.
So hey,
I mean, Pachuca in 8th place now with those 2 games. You have to say it's got to be they have to mess up. I mean, it's all they're in the position they should make the Liguilla, and with Victor Guzman, I think it's important for the future of Pachuca's policy of producing Mexican players, of playing them, that they do have success with it as well. Because it's all right selling off these players and making the money, but at a certain point, the fans there are going to demand that they're actually chasing titles. And it's getting that balance that is so tricky. But Pachuca have kind of done it okay, but the last couple of seasons they've not made the Liguilla, and therefore I think it's really important this season that they do it. I mean, Victor Guzman I think is just week by week progressing. I think the confidence is back. He's obviously come off a long-term injury, and he's just come back with absolutely no sign that he's been out for so long. And it's really great to see. I think that he's by quite a distance now the Mexican player most ready to step up. I think he's I don't know. I like him a lot. I like he's got like a steel to him. I think he grew up in the same neighborhood as Carlos Salcedo. And I think they share that kind of mentality. They're just like kind of badass. You know what I mean? They just like go out there and they just play, and they're going to get absolutely 110%. And I really like that. There's no like diving around and stuff about him. He goes out there, he kind of switches himself on, and he just goes. And then
Are the tattoos part of it, Tom? Is that why you think it's just like, look at this guy. I don't want to fight this dude with all his tattoos. Just like the short hair. I don't want to fight this guy.
Yeah, mainly the tattoos.
What other surprises you're seeing on there when you're looking at the Liguilla table, especially after what happened?
I don't know. I don't think there's big time surprises, to be honest. I think I look at the top 8 or the top 10, and I'd say I probably would have expected Tijuana, Leon, and Chivas perhaps to be still in the fight at this stage. But you look at the top 8 and you think the likes of Cruz Azul, America, Santos, Toluca, Monterrey, Tigres, Pachuca, and you think
by point Xolos is out, right?
No, they're still technically in it too, but they're based. It's a 0.0000001%.
Hold on a second. Did I not get the last? I don't think I got the last update.
Negative 10 goals.
Yeah, no, it's like a
They
point
have to win like
20-0. Yeah, that might be an understatement, but yes, they have. If they score 40 goals, if Pachuca loses by 40 goals, they could potentially make the playoffs.
Yeah,
then it would be
not
like 0.0001.
Not happening. But no, basically, there's two places up for grabs. I mean, it's Tigres, Pachuca, Morelia, and Querétaro, and 2 of those 4 basically. When you boil it all down, it's very unlikely that anything else is gonna happen. My problem is I like all 4 of those teams.
I think Querétaro's a little underrated, to be honest. And it was funny because like earlier this season, I specifically remember saying on the Mexican Soccer Show, they're over reliant on like Volpi and Sanveso. And I'm gonna call myself out right now, Cesar Hernandez, from 2 months ago. They have been over reliant on him. Other players like Marcelo Ruiz and Güemes, Villalba have also started to step up, and I don't know, Hiram Mier is doing a decent job. You have what's his face, the young Mexican defender, Mozo Romo. I forget the name of the guy back there. But anyway, I think that Querétaro are also an underrated team there, and it wouldn't surprise me that much if they were to potentially surpass Pachuca and get that last playoff spot. But like Tom said, I think there's some interesting teams right there who are on the cusp.
Yeah. Querétaro have got Necaxa the last game at home, so again, you expect them to win that. And then they've got Veracruz away. So I don't know, it's going to be fascinating because you got Querétaro with 2 games they should win, Pachuca with 2 games they should win, and Tigres as well. I mean, they've got Tigres, they've got Puebla at home, followed by Chivas away. Again, two of the weaker teams. So out of those 3, I think you'd have to say Morelia have got the kind of the hardest, the hardest end of the season. And they got Cruz Azul at home, and then wait up,
Cholos, no,
Cruz,
I think.
And then Morelia finish against.
Actually, I think you might be right. No, actually, yeah.
Yeah.
They visited Cholos, and then they end the season with Cruz Azul.
Well, you guys mentioned, think about Querétaro when you're looking at the coaches wise. How big would it be for Rafa Puente Jr. to make it to the Liguilla?
No, yeah, I think it'd be absolutely, it'd be huge for him. I mean, I think he's, there's a lot of talk about Mexican culture and stuff, but Miguel Herrera saying today that he don't.
Tom arguing with people on Twitter today.
I've been in Twitter fight today. Been bruised. No, but
tell us, Tom. This is Tom They can fight with you on Twitter, but not on the Mexican Soccer Show. You have the
Miguel Herrera said in the morning that he believes that the Mexican coaches don't get anywhere near the amount of chances that foreigners do. And I basically said I don't agree with him. Like, give us an example. And I don't know, I just felt nobody gave a specific example of when a foreign manager has been given advantage specifically because they're foreign, if you know what I mean, ahead of a Mexican. So if anyone's got any good examples, let me know. But I didn't see after the hours of Twitter fighting.
Coming because of their name that's coming here and what they've done, and then coming to Mexico. I think that's what's been saying. Just because you are a foreign manager, so therefore, you're going to get that job. I think of Leon, so, bringing in coaches that are kind of like that don't do really well in the Mexican game. I don't know if, and then leave, but then I wouldn't say that they're better than any other coaches, because the problem is that there are not that many great coaches in Mexico to have that argument.
Oh yeah, I mean, that's the fundamental issue. I mean, I remember speaking to Enrique Mesa a few years ago, and I said to him when he was at Morelia, and I asked him, like, why did he never go abroad, or why was there never that? Because I think he had offers from Costa Rica in his past, and he said basically us Mexican coaches, when we manage in the first division, we're very comfortable, and we don't have that desire to go abroad. And I think it's that hunger that distinguishes and that a lot of the Mexican managers need. I mean, Hugo Sanchez, for example, he's managed once in the last 9 years. I mean, that's not doing enough to get a national team job. Like, I'm sorry, that's just not enough.
He demands it.
I mean, if he really wants that job, then go and manage a club and work your way up. Prove yourself, prove to people that you deserve another shot. And I feel like that.
And even when he did do that.
Pardon?
He did go and manage another club in Europe when he was with Vallecano, after he coached the national team, and then it stopped. And then the money from the televisoras came in, and that's it.
I mean, but it's the same with a lot of, Benjamin Galindo. I think he's just very comfortable. I don't think those kind of guys are going to be, getting dirty, going to a different country and kind of, if there's no opportunities in Mexico, then going elsewhere and trying to fight your way up and climbing the ladder. I mean, look at somebody like Tata Martino, who might be the new Mexico manager. I mean, he went to Paraguay and started managing the Paraguayan league because he didn't have opportunities or good opportunities in Argentina. Look at Sampaoli, who went to Peru, who went to Ecuador. I mean, sometimes you have to take a different route to the top if doors are shut. But I just feel, and Osorio is another one who's just, he's absolutely dedicated to making it a coach. Whereas, I don't think a lot of, and there are exceptions, like Fentanes, I think is very, very knowledgeable about the game. You got the likes of Yeah, I mean, there are other examples, but I'm just talking in general terms. I look at someone like Caixinha and the preparation that he's had before coming to Mexico to be a head coach, and the licenses he's taken, and his kind of methodology. And I just think if I was a club owner and you get your kind of curriculums in from different managers, I think you'd be impressed with Caixinha's.
Yeah.
But let's not take anything away from someone like Herrera, whose results in kind of regular season play over the last few years have been phenomenal. You know what I mean? They have been very, very good. So you can't say Herrera's not a good manager because he's not managed abroad. But when we're talking about opportunities for Mexican managers, I think the coaches have to do more. But I don't know. It's a problem in the Mexican game that at grassroots level as well, the coaching isn't good enough. I mean, it's one of the fundamental problems with the Mexican game. The federation are trying to do things about it. There's now coaching schools in Guadalajara, I think in Tijuana, obviously Mexico City, I think Toluca. So they are kind of trying, but it's for me it's still an issue.
Well, it's something that and we've talked about this as a coaching. At least you're starting to see younger coaches come in through that used to be players that are not going to the those contracts with television. I mean, I think of Francisco Palencia, even Rafa Puente, although he did start, I think it was with ESPN Junior, Marcelo Leaño. In that sense, is that you're starting to see those coaches that it was like a huge generation from Chava Reyes, from the Luis Fernando Tenas and Miguel Herreras and all those guys that are playing in the 80s, 90s, and all those players that played from like late 90s to to the 2000s that are supposed to be players that there's just nobody that came out there. And and finally we're starting to see those players that are taking those coaching positions and going in there.
Until they offer them a TV contract.
Must be bummed.
Yeah. But they've been given the opportunities as well.
Yeah, they're given the opportunity. Look at. I mean,
look at Puente. I mean, Puente is a great example.
Yeah.
Roberto Hernandez as well at Morelia. Let's not forget him, because what he's done this season is remarkable. I mean, forget the game against Tigres, because after that red card, it was always going to be difficult. But what he's done after the club, basically a club that don't invest a lot of money in the playing squad. I mean, he's had a really good season again, even if they don't make the playoffs. Rafa Puente at Querétaro. I mean, Cesar said, I think when you said Cesar early in the season that you didn't feel this squad was good enough for a player, I still feel the same, and that's why you got to give credit to Puente and the group of players, because I think they're above where they should be. That's the situation where you got to say, well, actually, Puente has done a really good job, and they're actually a good team to watch as well.
Yeah, and it's a fairly young squad too. I think when you really look around, it's not as if they have a large amount of veterans there too. So I think when you look at some of those young names, and I'm not just counting Marcel Ruiz, I think when you look around the other players there within the squad, you do have to give credit to what Puente is doing. And like we said, I mean, there's a chance they do make it to the playoffs. There is a decent chance that they do that. And I still think that now I feel as if, I don't know, they're like the new Morelia, the new underrated Liga MX team in Mexican soccer. Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see maybe like a story on those players right now that are in coaching positions, or past players in the last 10 years that are at least starting in coaching positions, so we can really value that. Because I could think about maybe like 5-7 years ago, there wasn't that many, just like what we were talking about, right?
Yeah, I like the mentality as well, because I think they're more outward looking than the kind of previous generation. I mean, you look at someone like Puente and you listen to him talk, and I watch a press conference with Puente, and it kind of like, yeah, I'm buying into this. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm not sure. I don't know enough about him as a coach to say he's a great coach or not. But I like when I read about him, when I listen to his interviews, I like what I hear, and it's that's a positive. I think he's a different character than previous kind of Mexican coaches.
And it's pretty cool, like Tom said about those, like some of those schools. Hopefully, we see that FMF is kind of setting up. Hopefully, see a few more of them, because I mean, for the one that I've seen over here in Tijuana, one of the benefits is that there are two like former Xolos players who are just like, cool. I would become a coach. I think Yasser Corona. I mean, we all remember Yasser Corona. He's trying to become a coach. Juan Carlos Nunez, he's trying to become a coach. It's kind of.
But also gotta be careful with these like schools that like pop up. It's like, yeah, coaching schools. Like I'm not gonna say any like some of the former players that I saw that they went through a whole coaching school, and I was like, yeah, that's not a real school. It's like,
but like Tom, there's an attempt. There's an attempt.
It's true. It's true. But I think of like Gerardo Espinosa, right? At like he's like the caretaker manager at in Atlas.
Atlas, every 4 months they wheel him out.
but what I'm
Gets a
saying
few
is
games.
but I'm saying is that these are players that are taking that position that are playing that are already with clubs, taking that it's how it goes, but it gives you that and we weren't seeing that many people. It's like a big gap of the television, so it's just kind of taking everything. So, just as our players need to be playing abroad, I think our coaches need to be coaching, and then not only that, then going abroad and getting those opportunities.
Yeah, they need to be hungry. Just as a young player needs to be hungry and do absolutely anything to get in a team and to establish themselves as a professional, so does a coach. There's no difference, and there's no relation between, or there shouldn't be. There shouldn't be a complete relation between being a top player and then being a top coach. I mean, you can be as good a player as you want, but you still have to prove yourself as a coach. And I think that some of the older generations of Mexican players have just thought, I'm a big player. I've done this, I've done that, and kind of believe that because of that they deserve the opportunity within teams.
Perfect example, Jorge Campos. When he was coaching in 2006 with La Volpe, and then we saw that this is a guy that 5 years ago was playing, knows a ton about the game, the Mexican game. Granted, the personalities, I'm sure, isn't there. But at the same, if Miguel Herrera can coach it, I could just that's the
Jorge
other
Campos
side.
can do whatever he wants.
Jorge Campos can do it. If Miguel Herrera made it, let's just make it about. What happened after 2006? Big money contracts coming in, and he's been everywhere since that. You look at that.
Now this is motivated me. I'm not going to write about Mexican soccer. I'm not going to write about American soccer. I'm going to go to Greece. I'm going to cover Olympiacos. This is what I'm going to do with my life. Go hang out with Nettie Castillo out there.
We'll go with the Nettie coach.
Too easy out here in San Diego.
In Europe, and you're still in Mexico. Okay, Nettie. All right. Anything else on Liga MX, guys, before we close our segment as far as what to look for the following weekend? Now we get close to the Liguilla madness. I do have to say I'm in the front spot, at least of all of us, when it comes to our prediction table. I'm slow in there. I'm like the Pachuca. It's like
we see what happens to the super leader. We see what happens to the super leader in the playoffs. We'll see
I wasn't. Adriana's was a super leader.
Yeah.
And then I'm like coming in there. I'm like the Santos. I'm like going in there and we'll see, because Adriano, I look at it and I just look at our scores and I'm like, dang it. All my ties, I'm trying to get ahead and they're not working, but I'm slowly getting there. Like 4 ties.
One time I actually said I'm gonna go like all the results I don't think turned out pretty well, and it doesn't really matter. I don't know. Liga MX and stuff will happen.
Supposedly, Tom's that's what he's been doing this whole season as an experiment.
I was going wild, man, but it's not worked.
He knows there's no pro rel. He's not putting serious investment. Tom's not taking it seriously. There's no pro rel in our little system, so he's not gonna care.
If you're last place in our prediction context, you get booted off the Mexican soccer.
Game over.
Gives you some perspective in that sense. What do you think happened to Jason? You think he really just left because he wanted to? He got last on the prediction team. That's when we roll with the Mexican soccer.
We sent him to Malaysia as a punishment.
I go the three last prediction losers were Naeem, Jason, and John. What happened? No. I'm just completely kidding.
I'm next. Oh dear.
It started out as Tom and Naeem, and now none of them are there. It's all right, guys. So last things on Liga MX. What are you most excited for this weekend? If you have a game, if you have when you're looking at the schedule.
No idea who's playing. Let's see.
The top team, and you're just like we care about like the best of the rest. I mean, I think that's what I'm looking for, like the last 2 weeks. I know who's gonna make. We'll know Tigres and America and Cruz Azul and Santos. I'm interested to see like those last 4 places: the Pachuca, Monarcas, Querétaro situation. I think that's probably what I like the most about the end of the season. Seeing as though will definitely not make it.
So we got Veracruz, Querétaro. I guess you got Querétaro, Atlas, Pachuca, Pachuca, Cruz Azul, Lobos.
And Veracruz is like coachless. Like again.
Tigres, Tigres Puebla, which obviously Tigres in those games. León Guadalajara, León, and
Oh dear.
oh man, Club Tijuana, Tijuana versus Monarcas, Necaxa Monterrey, Toluca Pumas. What games are you guys gonna watch? That's what I'm looking at. Is you have those spots, but it's not like they're gonna be interesting games.
I mean, I'll be at Xolos Morelia keeping an eye on the other
What
games.
games
I'm not gonna lie.
have to watch.
I'm gonna be watching Dorados.
You know what? Tigres Puebla might be interesting. Even though it seems like Puebla, are completely done. Even though it seems like Tigres are the far superior side, but there's no confirmation just yet that Tigres are going through. They still have 23 points, and Puebla are still in the running. 19 points isn't exactly the worst spot to be in, and we've seen before in the past where Puebla are capable of getting some surprise results over big teams. So I'm not ruling them out just yet. I think that there's a chance that Tigres Puebla could be a good game.
Yeah, and Tigres they've shown vulnerability that they shouldn't. You know, they looked. I mean, against Morelia, obviously when Morelia went down to 10 players, it was extremely difficult for him. But Tigres, they took quite a while to open the deadlock. And I think it was a penalty, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it was a penalty that kind of it's
a controversial penalty.
Yeah, a debatable penalty as well. And so there's something about Tigres that I'm not kind of convinced with yet. I also want to see Pachuca away at Atlas. I'm going to go to that game. I don't know. I really like Pachuca, and I do hope they make the playoffs. But again, they played Veracruz a couple of weeks ago, and they were 3-0 up, and it kind of went back to 3-2. And you thought, what? You know, I didn't like that. I didn't like the fact they kind of shut off and then allowed Veracruz back into the game. And you know, last week against Necaxa, I know late on they wrapped up the goals and it went to 6, but Necaxa had quite a few chances in that game, and it could have been, you know, it could have been a bit closer, that scoreline.
I was actually looking into that Toluca Pumas match, because Pumas, you just see them and I guess we all think they're going to make it to the Liguilla with no problem, but they haven't done really well against any other team that's in a Liguilla position right now. I mean, they tied against Pachuca 0-0, then they lost against Monterrey, they lost against Querétaro, they tied against América, so it was 0-0 against Monarcas, and 3-3 against Tigres. So they haven't really beaten any other team that's in a Liguilla position. So I'm kind of eager to see if they'll do that against Toluca. Maybe they'll end off the season a little bit better than they started it, and just see if they're actually the real deal, or they just benefited from a really good calendar and just made the best out of the other games. You know, so I think I'm interested in that game probably.
Yeah, I think if we're looking just for a playoff preview, obviously we got to keep an eye on Santos America. I mean, that should be a fascinating game right there. Kind of give a little bit of a once again, like a preview what we'll be seeing in the postseason when you have the number 2, number 3 team facing off against each other. But I think that's probably the big game of the weekend. But you could have some fascinating matches in there, just because there's a lot of significant room for movement.
Yeah, but Santos weren't that good either. So I think Chavarez will want to see. I think they'll want to see a reaction there, because Santos have been really on it for the last couple of months. And I thought they just slacked off against Querétaro a little bit. They didn't look themselves, at least until close to the end of the game. But yeah, Pumas as well. I mean, I keep saying it, but they still don't kind of convince me. And
I don't think anybody convinces. I keep thinking that there's really not a team that convinces anybody right now.
No, but you know, after the game against Cruz Azul, it's like Patiño was saying that, you know, he thought that his team deserved something from the game, and I mean, even Caixinha said, you know, to become champions, you need to kind of go through some hardships. But I mean, maybe it was only my reading of the game, but I thought Cruz Azul largely had it under control. I thought once they went 1-0 up, I thought they sat back. You know, I thought when they got the ball, they kind of tried to keep it for as long as they could. But apart from that, they sat deep, they sat back. And obviously, you got Pablo Aguilar. You're not too afraid of long balls. And Pumas is Liga MX's, you know, biggest long ball team. And I thought Pumas, when kind of Cruz Azul kind of ceded possession, I thought Pumas, when you're going to create, when you're going to kind of, you know, propose the game and I thought they didn't have too many ideas, but I mean that was only my kind of reading.
No,
of it.
there's something really bizarre about Puma. I don't know what it is. Is it what time they're playing their games at home? There's just something off about Puma. And you look at the home results, and the only team that has allowed more goals at home this season is Veracruz. Number 2 on that list is Pumas. They only have 2 wins and 7 home games. There's something really off about them. I mean, away from home, they're incredible. I mean, they just really do very well. But there's just something really and I've been noticing that just like there's just high scoring, just strange games. I know the last one wasn't high scored, but there's just a lot of odd games for Pumas at home. And I just think if you aren't doing well at home, I mean despite how well they're doing away, that's just not a recipe for success in the playoffs.
Cruz Azul moves a little south of the cities, and maybe that's impacting because they're playing against Azteca. So I know Ciudad Universitaria is a little bit west, like a little northwest of it. So maybe that could be it. Interesting to see.
Azul's game is at 5, which is really odd because they've been switching around the entire season. So it'll be good to see how they do at 5 instead.
It's
They've
weird
been playing
seeing,
at 9 p.m., at 7, 5.
It's weird seeing Pumas at like home at night. Like it's just a weird thing to see. Or any of those. All right, guys. Well, interesting is out with Liga MX, and we'll see who makes it into Liguilla, and we'll be talking all about Liguilla. Keep an eye out on the predictions. See who comes in. What we do know is that there's no way Tom can win it. I think. I think.
Well, it's just about qualifying for the playoffs and then doing well in the playoffs, right? Tom's gonna be the number 6.
He's our Chivas.
Yeah.
Like a dagger to my heart. Like a dagger to my heart.
All right. Before we get into our last day with the Mexicans abroad, excuse me, Bella, Giovanni, and Gio not making their playoffs. And we'll have a little conversation about that for everybody. I wanted to kind of bring up really quick announcement from here from the Liga MX El Tri Eng family. Something that's coming up that I'm very excited about to be involved with, and also help out with a new podcast that's coming out from their FootMex Nation involving you know them, Adriana, Cari Torres, and Miss Amy Lopez, who works here, who helps us out here at the Mexican Soccer Show, who is part of the team, not help out. She's part of the team with the Mexican Soccer Show, and we're doing a new podcast called Our Football, which should be an amazing podcast that I think we all should support and be definitely help out. Definitely the start of it and growth of it. So Adriana, I wanted to give you a little bit of time here, just kind of to talk about it. I know it's exciting. You guys have done a couple of episodes when Mexico was going into the obviously in the qualification of the World Cup, but also you'll be talking not only obviously women's football, but football around when it comes to Mexican soccer. But Adriana, I want to kind of give you a little bit of time here and kind of tell us about this cool podcast.
Yeah, we're starting this up. As you mentioned, we have had a couple of rounds of it already. We have a ton of fun. I think it's a really good take on not only women's soccer, which we have lots to talk about. I think it's just something that people just don't get enough information about it. We talk about games, talk about players. We have the U17 national team playing the World Cup in a couple of weeks in Uruguay. They're actually playing a friendly this week against Spain. So we're looking into that and just talking lots of Liga MX and international soccer as well with all the Mexicans abroad. So we hope you guys enjoy it. We hope you guys can give it a listen and just let us know what you think.
I'm really excited for this. This is cool.
Yeah, definitely. It should be it should be coming out in podcast form, so it won't be live. So definitely keep an eye on it, and I think ladies are going to do an amazing job from covering. I think just in the perspective when I'm listening to your podcast and the last 2 podcasts, it's as a guy, I think I thought about it. I'm like, I didn't have that perspective as a woman, as a female, something that we don't hear very often. And even little things as, you working, Adriana, what really touched me is you working as a journalist in Mexico and in an all male dominated, arena, just what you go through. I thought that was something that, I would have never thought about that stuff. So to hear, what you go through, and then the way that you guys cover the games, I think it's awesome. So I know I'm excited. I know we talked about here with the Mexican Soccer Show, excited, and knowing the talent with Amy, you, and also Cari now joining that on FootMex Nation. So I think it's going to be really cool. So be on the lookout.
We got a shout out from Jenny Ruiz. She was a former national team player for Mexico, and we got a shout out from her on the first show. So that was pretty awesome. That was I don't know, like a good heads up for what's coming with the podcast. So I hope more people can join and just let us know what you guys think.
Yeah, and it's great because you're gonna have all those Mexican American players, right, that are gonna be looking for those avenues to talk to. So I think you're gonna be seeing a lot in the context there that these ladies are making. So be on the lookout for that. Should be at the end of this week, and yeah, it's called Our Football. So cool. All right. Let's jump into Mexicans abroad, and we were gonna start. I know Chicharito scored, but I wanted to get your thoughts on. Like, can we finally say, I know people have said it before, but can the Mexican Soccer Show finally endorse the idea that Gio is out? Like, that's it, no more. Like, he didn't make the Liguilla, the playoffs. We know that not that great of a World Cup. Like, LA Galaxy was too big for Gio, Cesar, and I know you follow MLS.
What do you mean by Gio? Is that like out of the Mexican national team?
Like, no, I mean it's
that's
done. Like it's over. Like if anybody was holding on to Gio kind of coming back to the national team and having a great career, to say that LA Galaxy was a bigger club than Gio when he was barely going over that he was going to be a bigger person than the club and he should have been going to other leagues. Like, can we officially all just go, yeah, Gio's done?
I mean, he's highly irrelevant to the Mexican national team. That's for sure. And I wouldn't want him to be called, as a Mexico fan. I wouldn't want him to be called up. I'm not gonna say his career is done though. Like I wouldn't be.
Well, it's not career. Maybe it's too harsh.
Career. Okay, I think
if national team. Like, okay, he's retired. Like, he's retiring now.
I think that he has a significant amount of ground to make up. I think he would need to have an incredible run of form. And I think there's a small chance that could still potentially happen, whether it be with the Galaxy, whether it be with a different team. There is still that possibility. But, I mean, I think further than ever before, I just think he's highly relevant to the Mexican national team. I mean, it's just quite sad to see how that has not really – and how that's just really gone downhill since 2014, especially because I think when you look at someone like Vela – when you look at someone who you could say in theory at one point kind of was at the same level as a Gio when it came to that kind of raw talent, and you see how Vela is just completely thriving. And I know that LAFC is no longer in the playoffs and that they were knocked out, but I just think you kind of wish that what Vela is doing and what he has done this season, that's what you would have seen from Gio. But yeah, if we're talking about is he done for the Mexican national team? Yeah, that's for sure. I'm not gonna say forever because he can still bounce back. You never know if he can have a good season. Yeah, once again, whether it be the Galaxy or someone else. But I think it just in the near future, it's sad, but it's just like he's very far away from returning to the Mexican national team.
I wouldn't say I would be surprised if he left Galaxy. To be honest, I just don't see him.
They don't want him anymore.
At all. Yeah, and that's what I've been seeing. Right? LA Galaxy fans.
Yeah, but the problem is he's got a contract till 2000 and I think end of 2019. He gets paid $6 million a year. So if I'm Gio, I want to stay there for another year because no one else is going to pay him anywhere near $6 million a year. So people, when we talk about him coming to Mexico, maximum he's ever going to get is $3 million, and that I can't imagine he'd get that given the level he showed over the last couple of years. So I think that's the dilemma with Gio. I mean, I honestly don't know what his next move is. But from his point of view, the Galaxy can want to get rid of him, and obviously they're looking at their wage bill and thinking $6 million. There's you look at some of the younger South American players that have gone to that league and absolutely just blown up. Mm-hmm. I mean, Galaxy must be thinking, look, our policy is it's blown up in our face here. Signing Gio for $6 million has just been an absolute disaster. But for Gio's point of view, where does he go? I mean, America might pay him $2 million, but is Gio going to accept that right now? If I was him, you wait till you end your contract and then you go on a free transfer.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the only way that if there was any positive is Gio returning to America from his sport. His dad played and then coming back and then trying to make a career, at least towards the end of his career, to either show him that. And
I'd love to see it. To see it. I think he's got a point to prove. He's got something to prove. I mean, he comes across as this guy who's very laid back, and what you said, Cesar. I agree, but he did have a good first season, and Vela's had a good first season. I think Vela, it's another issue. Vela's got to keep it up as well. He's come out onto the scene. He's a new environment, and now the second season is going to be more difficult for him. But yeah, with Gio, it's like I'd love to see him in Mexico, because if there's one thing that should get him going, it's like being in Mexico, having that pressure. You know, basically, if he doesn't make it in Mexico, then it is, you know, where else is
Yeah,
to go
it's
for?
over.
USL.
Dorados.
Phoenix Rising. Go hang out with Drogba.
Oh my God, Dorados with Maradona. I can see it coming.
Dorados with Maradona. That'll demand it, and then Jonathan will be there a year later with Maradona.
Oh, Jonathan.
Carlos Vela. You got to do what you got to do. Carlos Vela, Jonathan Dos Santos, Giovanni Dos Santos, no playoffs. I was watching that LAFC game, hoping to see maybe the spark of LA. I'm still very interested in obviously that player that I think will continue with the national team. I haven't been this vocal towards an MLS team. I was like, come on, you got to make it, since the Cuauhtemoc Fire days in the playoffs against the New England Revolution. I think those are the last time that I remember I was cheering. But I think there's a lot of people that, especially looking at fans, Vela not making it playoffs. But I would have to say a very successful first season. I think that's what you got to do when you're coming in, right? To prove a point that going into a league and all the things that people have said about him going to another league. But now you said it, Tom, a second season coming in, and he's got to prove, but very successful, I would say. He did what he was supposed to do. He wasn't, I don't think there was any huge expectation of him to become the best MLS player, but he's scoring goals and doing what he's carrying in the team, and you still see the level of talent still there. As far as in that place,
well, he's too good for the league. I mean, it's one of those. He's too good for the league. I mean, he should be doing well.
Yeah.
For me, he's absolute quality player. Vela. He showed it at the World Cup. I mean, he's shown it in Spain, and it's like he's basically dropped down a level, and you expect him to keep it up. The problem now is the motivation to maintain that.
Mm-hmm. And he's getting older too, so we'll see how that goes. Jonathan Dos Santos, before we end our MLS, guys. Obviously, LA Galaxy not making it, and which I wouldn't say he had a bad season, but it wasn't a season where Jonathan, from what I hear, is just kind of was the top of what they brought him in for. But what do you see, Cesar, as far as Jonathan kind of going into proving maybe another season if he's there, or again, where do you go from there?
I mean, I'm not gonna lie and say that like I've seen a lot of LA Galaxy this season, but it seems like some of the recent games I've seen that you do see that Jonathan that made him a worthy player for the Mexican national team. You see a lot of that energy, you see that presence, and it seems like, I mean, it's fairly easy to see that just like he's a much more important player than his brother. And I think that maybe because of that association with his brother, maybe there's a lot of skepticism for those Galaxy fans who perhaps thinking that he might not have taken it as seriously as Gio. But it seems like Jonathan is still a key player to this team. I mean, obviously, he probably gets paid a significant amount, and whether he is worthy of that amount that's paid, I think that's a different question. But it seems like he still has a. I mean, it wasn't like it was a long time ago that we saw him, thriving in Spain. And although he's not playing at the same level, and although he's not playing the same competition, you do still see glimpses of that. And at least that's just from the recent games that I've seen for him. So I think he could still be a good player. He could still be a fantastic MLS player. But I think it's a different conversation when you compare him and Gio. Gio,
yeah,
they're probably looking for Galaxy wish they could load him off to a different team. But with Jonathan, I think he could still be a very important figure for the Galaxy. Yeah,
he should be in Europe still. I mean, he was playing well at a really good club. Is that? I mean, Cesar, I know you and especially you and Naib were highly critical of that move, and rightly so.
Yeah.
I mean, that was. I mean, Giovanni is like, you're getting paid $6 million. In some ways, you can't turn that down. The same with Vela. You're getting so much more money than you make in Europe. Whereas, and the careers were only going to go down. I mean, from Villarreal, from Real Sociedad, Vela and Giovanni weren't going to go anywhere special. They weren't going to take that step up to go Atletico Madrid. They just weren't in form. Whereas Jonathan Dos Santos was just about establishing himself after, his early 20s was just so full of injuries. And finally, we saw what he could do. And then to do that at the point where you thought, right, another season here in Villarreal, and let's see what happens, you know what I mean? And instead, he took the easier option and moved to MLS. I mean, can't blame him on a personal level, but was disappointing from the playing side without doubt.
Yeah, 100% agreed. Yeah.
And I mean, it goes back to the whole brother thing too, right? Of playing with his brother and how happy they were playing. I mean, they're not only they're in the same club, but it feels like they get injured together too. So it's, I mean, it is what it is. All right, really quick before we end, Chicharito scored a great goal, a very of coming in, but at least we're seeing it was coming in. We're starting to see, Raul Jimenez having a good season, continuing the good season, good form. I think many fans are starting to see his talent, and especially in England. And then we also have Champions League play that's for Chucky and obviously the Porto guys. But as far as what we wanted to see, these Mexicans abroad getting that playing time, right? I mean, it's right after the World Cup, and it's very, very crucial for them. But not much I guess not a lot of big news, but I mean we're continuing to say that.
I mean, the squad's coming out on Thursday, and the big thing is going to be who's in it. Are some of these names like Herrera, Moreno, Chicharito, Guardado, are those guys going to be recalled for these games in Argentina or not? Interesting comments from Chicharito on Univision, saying that on many occasions he's thought about leaving the Mexican national team, doing a Vela basically. And that's fascinating because it tells you he's not been happy with how things have run. He's clearly not happy with certain things and how things have gone down there. So I think gives a bit some fascinating insight into his state of mind when it comes to the Mexican national team. And we'll see what Thursday brings.
Yeah, I think really quickly about Chicharito, I think it was interesting too. I read an article where he was saying that the recent sickness he had, that he felt like he couldn't leave his apartment. He felt like he wasn't sleeping very well. So I feel like I feel a little bad for the guy, and hopefully he can kind of bounce back soon. What was that?
Do you have a girlfriend?
He does have a new girlfriend.
There it is.
That is there it is. No, but
he stays in his apartment all the time.
No, but I think obviously maybe on this side he's having a great time. But I think career-wise, I mean, obviously he's not at his best. And I do hope that, I mean, on the side maybe he's doing all right, but just like as for his actual career, I'm hoping that goal that he got over the weekend that kind of helps, kind of revives him a little bit. Yeah, revives him a little bit. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I don't see any of that same group that we're still trying to figure out who's talking and who's really not happy about the Mexican national team coming back to the Mexican national team until there's a coach. And even going to Argentina. I mean, now that's a flight, So
that's a risk of injury. I mean, he told Chicharito, "Hey, come and play against Argentina." When he just scored a goal, I mean, for the first time since April, he's probably thinking it twice. Like, yeah, I probably have more to lose than to win. So,
but yeah, I don't see those players that are really looking at this and going, "I really need to play with my team," and going over there. It's not only across the pond; it's across the pond and down south. I mean, it's the whole. I mean, we're looking at a pretty big flight. So, and then. And everything that goes along with it. So I mean, I guess those are the the drawbacks of playing in environments like that for FIFA dates, where you do have some players, and then especially if we don't have a coach, and the animosity that's happening with these type of players. So interesting to see what comes out on Thursday. I think it's going to be like the last call up, in that sense. Those types of players, I don't see the same players that aren't going. So I don't foresee maybe at least definitely not Chicharito, but Guardado. But even a Layun, although I know Layun was saying that he was okay with the national team. So we'll see. Any surprise that you guys will see, or any predictions? You see anybody of those types of players kind of being called for?
Well, the odd thing about that game is it's just before the 17th week of Liga MX, so it's going to be interesting to see how many teams are actually willing to loan their players, knowing that maybe they'll be facing off like their opportunity for the Liguilla the following week. Some teams had their players loaned to the U20 team for the CONCACAF Championship, like Diego Lainez. Yeah. So it's definitely gonna be a different kind of list this time.
Yeah, you can't imagine Lainez going after the under-20s championship and then going to I don't know what he's doing there at the under-20 championship, to be honest. I mean,
scoring a bunch of goals, Tom, against Granada.
It's like he might as well, it's like playing against us. He might as well play against us. You know what I mean? It's like.
And it's kind of understanding, like, are they just trying to give him more like international experience? They say he's selling off. I mean,
I don't know. It's like me playing Cesar at FIFA,
Oh,
just running over
this.
him.
Look
know,
at this.
goal
Look at
after
this for
goal.
Tom, right now, playing FIFA. I'm ending this right now. Ending the pod. We're going right now.
what happened? You recently
Right, going,
my
mate.
son?
The battery's running out.
All right. Okay, guys. Well, Tom's battery's running out, so we gotta go. Just
Alexis
then we'll go back with Adriana that says brownie point. Oh, you didn't mention on me though. You're right, Adriana. Brownie points.
True. That's true.
Just for that, you can go ahead and close us off, send us off. We'll see what's coming with the new list of players. It's almost the Liguilla coming up. Chucky and the Champions League, lots and lots of football. So go ahead, close us off, and we'll see you guys next Monday.
We'll see you guys next Monday. If you guys don't have any game to see, you can just follow up and see if Tom can make it past any of us for the prediction table. That would probably be just as interesting for this weekend. Hopefully it'll be a great close of the season. I hope to see lots of surprises, and we'll see you guys next Monday.
All right, guys. Hasta la próxima. Thank you again. See you later.